Welcome to Slope Reliability, the show where we learn about reliability, observability, and resilience one day at a time. I'm your host, Stephen Townsend. Welcome back to Slope Reliability in 2026. I'm your host, Stephen Townsend. To kick off the new year, I wanted to share some news. In about a week, I'm starting a new role as the SRE and DevOps team lead at a company called Bluecurrent. Bluecurrent are leaders in smart metering for the energy and utilities sector in Australasia. It's a smaller company, around 500 staff, which I think will better suit me than large corporate. I think it's a really interesting context to apply reliability engineering to. You have millions of devices in people's homes and in businesses across New Zealand and Australia, asynchronously sending data across potentially dodgy networks. How do you observe and understand the reliability of that context? How do you identify issues before customers do? I don't know. I'm looking forward to working with a new team of engineers to tackle that particular challenge. It's my first actual SRE job where I'm looking after real production systems. And I decided on the move primarily because of the learning and growth opportunity that I see for myself in the role. This should have no impact on the release schedule of this podcast. Just wanted to point that out before anything else. I mean, I managed to release every fortnight last year amongst the enormous workload and cognitive strain I was under at times. So I'm pretty confident that I can continue to release that frequently. In fact, I already have 5 interviews that I recorded in November and December that are ready for me to edit and release. So there's a good 2 to 3 months of content already in the pipeline. If there is any change to the podcast, it might be that I see some of the SRE and observability topics that I haven't touched on as much recently. I think they may come back into the picture a bit more as I grapple with looking into these real complex production systems for the first time. So, as for today's episode, I wanted to talk about preparing for a new role, something we don't do all that often, and something I've tried to be deliberate about this time. I'm going to be managing a team of 6 or 7 people who I've never met. I understand some broad strokes about the context of the work and the challenges, and I've been given a hint that the key here in my role is to build a picture of what good looks like, especially around reliability and observability. But that's about all the information that I have. I don't want to over-prepare, but I do want to show up on the first day with a basic plan about how I can get the most out of those first few days and weeks, flavored by my own personal objective, which is to find calm and joy at work. So a little bit of a segue here, but I'm on the last few pages of a book called Happy by Derren Brown. I don't know if you know who he is. I remember him as a magician and hypnotist on TV. It's my first foray into the philosophy of Stoicism. And I think there's something in there which seems to be clicking into place for me. One of the ideas, and there's several which are resonating, one of the ideas that resonates is that the only things that we can control are how we think and act. Everything else is at least in part outside of our control. And I think that's liberating because it allows us to strive for meaty, complex goals without getting too caught up in the outcome. The best that we can do is to act each day in a way we think will head us toward our goals. And that's all we can do. I've been trying to control so many things outside of myself and my work for a long time, and I'm not going to do that anymore. So I could talk a lot more about that. I think that's an interesting set of ideas and something I want to explore further. I really would like to get a guest on the show to talk about Stoicism. So that's hopefully coming up later this year. But going back to my plan for starting a new role, the basic idea for me is to listen, learn, and connect when I arrive, not to come in with a predetermined plan. That's the worst thing I could do. I'll need to adapt whatever I do to the context of the people, the structure, the culture, the architecture, the technology of Bluecurrent when I arrive. So there's no point in over preparing that. So here's my plan for the first week. Introduce myself to my team, meet everyone on the team one-on-one, or at least set up a one-on-one in the following week. Meet my peers, the stakeholders I will be working with. Learn about their context. I think a good way to go about this is to ask about the 2 or 3 biggest things on their mind at the moment, things that are concerning them or they're excited about. And also meet my leaders, of which I'm not entirely sure who they will be yet. So that'll be exciting. Looking a bit further out to the first month, I put down understand the org structure with a particular focus on who my stakeholders are and my customers, who are probably going to be internal customers. To understand the enterprise architecture and who owns what. To understand how work is managed in my team, but also more broadly across the org. What processes or standards do we need to adhere or align to? Identify some things that we could measure to track success as a team, or at least start the conversation. I think that might take longer than a month to do that, but I put down a few discussion openers to get my brain going. Things like DORA metrics and golden signals, or the reliability benchmarking work I did a few years ago as a starting point for discussion. And lastly, in the first month, I want to review the position descriptions to make sure that the role descriptions describe the work that we're going to be doing together. And if not, then to make those changes. I imagine this will also take more than a month, but I want to at least read through them and digest them in that first month. And then looking out to the first quarter, I put down define a team vision that aligns to organizational goals. Focus on painting a picture of what good looks like, a North Star, something aspirational, which I'd build in collaboration in part with the team. Start capturing data. This could be reliability data on our services, could be about our delivery pipelines and lead times, whatever ends up being important, a thing that we need to track. Let's start capturing it and reporting on it. And thirdly, define a RACI or a mission statement. And if you're not familiar with RACI, it stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consult, Inform. And it's a matrix way of identifying what are the boundaries of accountability within a particular team and the work that they're doing. I've since been told it's actually less relevant to do that to that level of detail unless you're in a big, complex enterprise. And then it makes a lot of sense, which is the exact context I just came from. So maybe just a mission statement, which is a higher level thing, which just clearly describes what do we do, how do we do it, who are our stakeholders, and who are the key people in charge or who make decisions at certain points along the way. And that's probably enough. The point is, within 3 months, I want to have clarity on accountability, which is something I didn't do very well in my previous role. So that's the plan. Other than every morning I'm going to wake up and just tell myself to show up and be the best leader of my team and the best colleague that I can. And that's all that I can do. That's all anyone can do, right? I've pulled together a wealth of resources too that I can refer to. And they may come in handy. Things like coaching exercises, which I've used in the past and one-on-ones and dealing with performance. I took notes on all the different ways we've run team ceremonies and retrospectives and different kinds of workshops. Also a refresher on SRE themes and practices and principles. I'll add to these as I go along as well and sort of build up an internal knowledge base about the role that I have and how to succeed in that role. So by the time I release this episode, I will have started the new role. And it'll be interesting to see how does the reality deviate from the expectation. I don't know if you can tell, but I think it's weird and new for me that I'm genuinely not nervous about this new role and all the unknowns and trying to control anything. Something is changing in me and changing for the better. And I think it will help me be a better leader, a better person. So before I go, I just wanted to say, Happy New Year. I hope the pages stayed silent. As for me, this Christmas, my wife and I and our 2 kids and our 2 dogs and our old lady cat, Inara, we had Christmas at home in Summery, Auckland, with my wife's family, all coming over to our house from different parts of the North Island of New Zealand. They all came to Auckland, where we live. And then New Year's, we spent at home too in a very quiet night in. I roasted up an organic lamb oyster shoulder, which was delicious, with some special roast potatoes. And then I made a homemade sticky date pudding because we had way too much food on the agenda already for Christmas Day, so I made it for New Year's instead. But that's what we did. I think I went to bed about 9:30. Partly because my wife and I are starting a 90-day challenge of sort of nutrition and fitness, and so I just wanted to get a good start for the first day of that. So I hope you had a good break, or you had some kind of break at least over this period. And I just wanted to say thank you for your continued support of Slight Reliability. And I'm really looking forward to another year with all of you. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.